we're getting some new information coming out of Denver that might explain, Perloff, just why this offense has been so inept. Now, we know the injuries. Of course, they've been devastating on the offensive side. The stat was if the Denver Broncos had merely scored 18 points a game, they'd be 8-1. The offense has been terrible. So now we're getting some reports that there is some trouble in paradise here for the Denver Broncos. So first, I want to play two clips for you. First, want to play a clip for you from Scott Hastings, who's part of the, was it Hastings and Columbus show out in Denver. And this is about how things are not going great between Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett. Okay, so no compromising. Russ is audibling out of play calls. But you know what, Perloff? Like, when you have future Hall of Fame quarterbacks versus a first-year head coach, I don't think people would really care too much if Russell Wilson is audibling out of stuff. So what? So what if he is? Maybe Russell Wilson maybe has some better ideas about how to run the offense. Well, unfortunately, the audibles are ones the team has no clue about. I mean, that's pretty wild, right?
So did it happen twice? Did it happen 16 times? I don't know. That seems a little thin to me.
Well, it would seem thin to me if the team was doing okay.
Yeah, but they're
doing terribly.
This team isn't even a team. They're down to third, fourth string everywhere. I saw this on Over the Cap. They are by a long stretch the most injured team in the NFL.
Well, they also traded away some of their good players too, with most notably Bradley Chubb.
I mean, you have to be more injured than the Chargers in today's NFL, because the Chargers medical staff couldn't keep anybody afoot.
Yeah, they might actually
the Broncos
are
actually more injured than the Chargers, who've I think lost 16 players. So the Broncos, they're a joke of a team right now. And I agree with what you said at first. Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett, you obviously can't trust him. I don't think that this is something that's happening every day. That I just don't buy it. And just the reporting around it does seem, I totally believe him, but I think it probably happened once or twice. I do not see this as I don't think we nailed, this is a problem with the Broncos. I think the problem is that Russell Wilson is throwing to players who should not be in the NFL.
Okay, well,
and their line should definitely not be in the NFL.
Hold on. You think that if this happened once or twice, it gets out of the building?
Yeah, yes. I don't know. I mean, listen. The Broncos have been losing games for a long time before. I know that 2015 they made the Super Bowl, but this franchise has been kind of lost for a while. I understand they thought Russell Wilson was going to come in here and clean everything up, but it's not happening, and certainly not happening with Nathaniel Hackett. Yes, I think that this is kind of thing that gets blown out of proportion. I honestly don't think Russell Wilson's going out there all the time and calling Seahawks audibles. Well,
I just think about going back to like Peyton Manning, right? The audible king. He would change the audibles from week to week, and everyone was able to keep them straight, right? It seemed like that, at least that's how he tells it. He changed them all the time. He was always trying to confuse the other team. No one could catch on to their tendencies, all of that stuff. Yet now Russell Wilson could possibly be using audibles from years past, like last year, when you would have Peyton Manning who's changing them all the time, week to week. It's like, that to me is definitely a story. You're downplaying it, but if it happened, it's a story.
I don't really think it's happening. I think he screwed up a couple audibles and the story blew out of proportion. Yes.
How do you know that?
I don't, because this one guy who was on the team is reporting it. It's certainly not a widespread report. And even he said, he's like, I didn't want to come out with this. I don't know. I mean, people are not making a thing out of this.
No, he said, well, it just happened. He said, but in the clip before, we don't want to play the whole thing because it would have been too long. He said, I've been hearing this, but I wanted to wait until I got another person or two more people to confirm it. And I did. So now he's going with it on the radio. I mean, it's a big thing to say in Denver about the starting quarterback for the Broncos.
I don't know. So you believe it hook, line, and sinker?
I don't think it would come out of thin air. I don't believe that.
I'm sure it happened a couple times. I'm sure Russell Wilson's not getting up there every play and calling his Seahawks audible.
Can you imagine? Like, that's got to be a little bit alarming. First of all, for just like himself, right? Maybe it's just a moment, maybe forget, whatever. But things are already going really badly in Denver. You've committed all this money now to Russell Wilson, let alone everything you gave up to draft him. Your season is going in the tank. You don't have your own draft pick for next year or the year after that. I just think that this is... I'd be worried. I'd be worried that this isn't just a one-off here, bad season in Denver.
And I think, but the thing I was going to jump in and say was, Russell Wilson has been asking for this. He wanted more personnel decision-making ability. He wanted to have, let Russ cook, let Russ get more of the offense. This is what he asked for, was to have more responsibility on his shoulder. If he messed up one time, that's too many times. I think Tom Brady is going into the Bucs huddle after 20 years with the Patriots and getting their play calls wrong. I think,
Well, Tom didn't know what down it was last year, so I don't know if Tom Brady was. I don't know if you want to use him as your example, but
you think Peyton Manning was making the wrong calls for the Broncos?
Definitely.
Listen, at the end of the day, this is what it almost feels like. Pete Carroll has been protecting Russell Wilson from himself for 15 years or 10 years. And now we're finally getting to see Russell Wilson.
15 years? Has he been in the league for 15 years?
10 years, however long it's been. I mean, it's been about 10 years now.
It's been 30 years that Pete Carroll has been protecting that guy.
Let me read you some names. These are the injured Broncos linemen. You have Graham Glasnow, Tom Compton, Cameron Fleming, Billy Turner, Lloyd Customary, Tom Compton, Garrett Bowles, All-Pro,
and Casey Tom Compton twice.
I said Tom Compton. Yeah, sorry. He plays guard at that. That's six guys.
He's a big dude.
That's six guys. They're on third string at both tackle spots. There is not a single quarterback or team that's going to survive this. Let me tell you who he's throwing to.
That still doesn't mean that the story is false.
Well, it does, yeah, but the upheaval on the offensive line leads me to believe that there's all sorts of confusion. That's not just Russ generated. Because when you have a third stringer at both tackle spots, there's going to be calls that are going to get confused. So I think there's just a bigger. Also, he's throwing to Jalen Virgil had that big touchdown against the Titans. Had anyone ever heard of Jalen Virgil? No, they had not. I think it was his first catch. And the other guy, the key play at the end of the game, and they're throwing. They already cut this guy. He's not even on the team. So. Honestly,
whatever his name was.
I think it was something Cleveland, and he's already gone. He's not on the depth chart. Yeah, this is a bad unit right now. Things are not good in Denver.
Courtland Sutton's back.
Okay. And who else are you going to throw to? You don't think the opponent knows that the Courtland Sutton's back?
I'm just telling you, you have your quarterback healthy. I understand offensive line. Those injuries are very tough to overcome.
You lost let's not forget your number one running back.
But
arguably your best receiver preseason, Tim Patrick.
Okay, but that was preseason. You have to. That's just going to happen in the NFL. If you lose one person off of your offense, you'd consider yourself lucky. I mean,
they're the most injured team in the league.
Okay, that doesn't mean the story's not true.
But the thing is, if the longtime starting five linemen said this and maybe come out public, then I would give more. I'm not saying he's lying at all. I'm just saying I don't think it's happening all the time. Just kind of like, how a local radio report for a team is. He's like, I'm hearing this. It doesn't mean that every time out there, Russell Wilson's calling a Seahawks play.
Wait, do you think that this is a one-off here for Russell and that he's going to return to form next year?
Oh, I think he's going to be much better next year.
Wow. Where's your evidence?
And they have so many players coming back, starting with Javonte Williams, Tim Patrick, Garrett Bowles.
They weren't using Javonte Williams not nearly enough when he was healthy. They kept giving the ball to Melvin Gordon.
I think I think they're going to be much, much better. Judy will probably be gone. I think he's a bit of a dog. So, yeah, I think they're going to be. Also, Russ has been hurt all season, too. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of
excuses for a guy who's supposed to be an elite level quarterback with reasonable weapons around him, and he can't score more than 15 points a game.
Who are the reasonable weapons? Like, who's his tight end? Like
Jerry Jeudy is a first-round pick. Courtland Sutton is an elite-level wide receiver. Javonte Williams played a few games. Melvin Gordon has made Pro Bowls. He has enough weapons around him that he can at least score more than 15 points a game.
I love Melvin Gordon, but he really shouldn't be in the NFL right now. I mean,
yeah, they're not the best players at their position, but 15 points a game. We're not talking about like 25 points. We're talking about 15 points a game they're averaging.
Well, the other part is you heard in the first clip about how Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett are butting heads. Now, if that's true, what's going to happen at the end of the season? Because I think everyone believes it's a foregone conclusion that Hackett's going to be out.
Side bet. I'll bet you right now the Broncos win more games next year than this year.
Well, of course they're going to, Perloff. No bet. Thank you for watching our video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more videos like this, just hit the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell.
Just hit the bell.